Dr. Barry James Marshall, a Sonali Varma production. Barry Marshall is a significant Australian. He is the man that kills millions of people every day. He followed his instincts and ignored the put-downs, so he not only found the cure for ulcers, but with the help of Dr. Warren, they found the cause of ulcers too. Barry has had a great childhood with a supporting family, and when he started working at the Royal Perth Hospital, he discovered an unimaginable hypothesis. Not only has Barry changed the world, he received the Nobel Prize for it. What is an ulcer? An ulcer is a hole that can often be found in your stomach, and most of the time they are formed from smoking, medication, spicy food, and a type of bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. But back then, people didn't know about the bacteria. Another description for an ulcer is like a volcano in your stomach, and dropping into that volcano is acid. The acid is caused by the bacteria because the human body is trying to rid of the Helicobacter pylori. Ulcers caused many people to die, and they were thought to be caused by stress. Family and early years. On the 30th of September 1951, Calgary, Western Australia, Barry was born. A couple of years later, Barry had a sister and two brothers. Mrs. Marshall was a nurse, and Mr. Marshall was a fixer and a turner. At age 8, Barry and his family moved to Perth because Mrs. Marshall wanted her children to have a university education so that they didn't have to work at the mines. Barry attended the University of Virginia. Then, in 1972, Barry Marshall got married to his wife, Ariane, and soon after that they had 4 children, and today Barry has 4 grandchildren as well. The beginning of something big. In 1981, Barry started working at the Royal Perth Hospital, where he met Dr. Robin Warren. Together, they studied spiral bacteria. In 1982, the duo discovered the hypothesis related to the bacterial cause of peptic ulcers and gastric cancer. Dr. Marshall also believed this could be cured just by some antibiotics. Their theory was misbelieved by scientists and doctors who had studied ulcers for years and years, and said that bacteria could not live in one's stomach, and that ulcers were caused by stress. Not true. At one point, Marshall in 1998 quoted, "Everyone was against me, but I knew I was right." Another reason people refused to believe their idea was because drug companies and doctors were making loads of money from people with peptic ulcers because they had to keep coming back for high-priced pills and surgery. Peptic ulcers cured. Dr. Marshall decided to take things to the next level and flew to America to see if he would be believed there. Sadly, they didn't, so Barry Marshall decided to find a new test subject, himself. Dr. Marshall drank a sample of the bacteria and began to feel unwell. Days after, he began throwing up and became much more sick than he had expected. Barry Marshall was so sure that his cure would work that he took the needed medication, antibiotics, and sure enough, he was cured. Soon after this event, the discovery was everywhere: the news, the television, and newspaper, good or bad.
World War II bomber found on moon. Bald salesman does own hair transplant from his armpits. Ulcer cure found.
What does this all mean? This means millions of people's lives have been saved, all because of Dr. Barry Marshall. This also means the theory about ulcers being caused from stress was proven wrong, and many doctors' thoughts about ulcers having no bacteria in them were completely false and incorrect. The Nobel Prize. Dr. Warren and Dr. Marshall's achievement was not going unheard, and in 2007 they were presented with the Nobel Prize in the medicine category. Barry was very proud of his effort, and he still is today. And thanks to Dr. Marshall and Dr. Warren, friends and family around the world are cured of ulcers. How Barry Marshall shaped Australia. Barry Marshall has shaped Australia by proving Australia can lead in things other than sport. It also shows how one person can have an impact on millions. Barry Marshall has not only shaped Australia, but he's shaped from Canberra to Beijing, and he is saving lives everywhere, and that in itself is amazing. Barry Marshall is one to learn from and leaves a big mark in history. Bye.